RoughRiders starting a 3-game series against the Tulsa Drillers, and we're joined as we are every year by the strength and conditioning coach for the RoughRiders, Eric McMahon. Eric, thanks for joining us. For those that don't really have a good idea as to what the strength and conditioning coach, they maybe think that you're just a second trainer, but it's a different job. Explain a little bit of what your responsibilities are as a strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. A lot of people ask me if I'm one of the trainers of the team, and here in the minor leagues there are some crossover responsibilities, and I do what I can to help Carlos out when he needs that. But there are definitely some other things. We warm up the team every day, stretch, flexibility, really just anything and everything to take care of these guys' bodies over the course of the long season, especially right now, getting into the latter part of the year. The corrective exercise, foam rolling, contrast baths, things that ideas we can just plant in these guys' heads and show them little routines that kind of can get them over the hump and just feel as fresh as they can for this time of the year. Obviously the strength side, being in the weight room, having them on a consistent routine throughout the year. It's a long season, not to have a in-season strength program that they consistently follow and progress. It's 2/3 of their year, so if we can't make gains in 2/3 of the year, we're never going to be able to play catch up in the short off season that we have in the professional games.
It's amazing how much the Rangers and other teams, not only in baseball but in other sports, have really taken to this aspect of the game, because it seems like 40, 50 years ago, guys would hardly ever lift weights. It'd be mainly push-ups and pull-ups and that sort of thing, but it's become so specialized, and there's probably been a ton of growth in this particular part of the field. Do you agree?
Yeah, for sure. Especially in baseball. I think that's one of the reasons I focused on baseball when I was in grad school. I wanted to go this way, and I felt like the game of baseball really had a lot of potential for growth at the time, and it really has. You see things in the media, and you hear things about players, Mike Trout, Bryce Harper. One of the first things you hear about when they get to the big leagues is the type of workouts they're doing to get there. And obviously, on our end in the field, we're always trying to make sure that the work is quality work. It's helping performance, and not just for show. Or you can work hard in a lot of ways that don't necessarily improve your performance, but we want to make sure that the work we're doing in the weight room on the strength end especially is focused on improving actual athleticism and performance, things we see out on the field.
To that end, do you sometimes have to hold guys back that just love the whole workout thing, be like, hey, you know what, this isn't necessarily going to help you. You need to take a little bit off the gas here?
Yeah, for sure. And some guys love it. It's a release for you. Get a pump, get in the weight room, throw some weight around, that whole mentality. And we do have to kind of break that bodybuilder mentality sometimes with a few guys. But at the same time, these guys are motivated to be out here and improve their game, and baseball is number one for these guys, so it can be an easy point to get across, especially as we get later into the year.
We're here with Eric McMahon, the strength and conditioning coach for the RoughRiders. Eric, do you consider this to be a pretty successful year when it comes to the shape that guys have been in? There haven't been too many trips to the disabled list. It's always challenging when you're playing in the Texas heat in this league for the course of a season, but do you think that the organization and you and your colleagues have done just a particularly strong job getting these guys to be able to last a full season?
Here in Frisco, I mean, there's always things that are going to come up over the course of the year. Here in Frisco, I think I'm pretty confident we've done a decent job keeping guys on the field. It's not just the medical side. It's not just Carlos and myself. The way our manager Jason Wood takes care of guys, gives guys days off when they need it, communicates with guys. I think we do that well as a staff. Jeff talks to the pitchers every day, and I think we collaborate as a staff to make sure we're giving the guys the rest they need, and then on the training end, adjusting programs as the year goes on to keep guys fresh. Yeah, I think it's been a pretty good year here in Frisco, and I have to give credit. We have a solid strength and conditioning and athletic training program all throughout our minor league system. And I think sometimes, especially we've had a lot of moves lately, I can't take credit for those guys just showing up here and they're healthy this week. I mean, they've been doing work all year long with in Hickory and Myrtle Beach, Arizona, Spokane, all the other affiliates. So it's definitely a whole system approach, and I think we have a great group of guys that work for us.
How specialized does it get when it comes to weightlifting versus cardio, tailoring programs to specific guys? Does it depend on body type, position? Is it all of the above? Is it certain specific weight goals that you would like for these players to be able to get?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to answer a question like that. I think a simple concept that we as in our field use is sport specific, or in this baseball specific. It's a strength and power sport. We're not running a marathon out here, even though in some of these in our minds sometimes, because we're out here every day, every single day. It seems like it's a marathon type season, but it's really it's short bursts. You have a lot of recovery, and so we train that way in the weight room with heavier lifts, more rest in between sets. That's a pretty universal thing baseball wide. Pitchers, position players, we're all strength athletes, we're all power athletes. Multi-directional movement, moving laterally. We don't just, it's not a 100-yard sprint off of the blocks like in track and field. Everybody starts in a lateral crossover step position. They cross over and transition, and all those types of things we try to integrate into the conditioning program as well. So.
Joey Gallo, guy, when he was drafted, I think weighed about 205 pounds, and he estimates he's probably put on about 30 pounds since then. It looks like he's still got room to grow out and even improve his strength, especially I think maybe in the upper body and lower body too, for that matter. How big would you ideally like to see Joey get, in terms of his weight, and where would you like to see that muscle added?
The thing about growth is you can't always, you can't always say you can train the upper body and the lower body, but you don't always know how a body's going to develop. In terms of where the mass is going to go, like as you put it. But I think Joey works hard. I mean, this he's a high school age guy, comes into our program. These are his college age years, and your body can make a lot of positive gains in that time. I think the way to progress a guy like that is you communicate with him, see how his energy level is over the course of the year. If you're too lean, you risk not having the energy reserves to bounce back day after day with the games, and to manage a high level of training while you're doing that. So I think communicating just to make sure energy level is good, and then strength and power. I don't think anyone doubts that kind of thing with a guy like Joey, but certain things, targeting the big lifts and just continuing to have him reach his potential physically, and so there's definitely a little room for growth.
Another guy who probably has a lot of room for growth that has one of the more unique body types in the team is Will Lamb. I mean, he's just a whippet up there, 6'6", listed at 180. I'm not sure exactly where he is right now, but how do you work with a guy who is so thin like Will and add on muscle so he can last a full season, but also not maybe change fundamentally what he does so well, which is still throw a fastball in the low to mid-90s?
Yeah, I feel like there's been a kind of a shift in how when I got into the game, we always heard about and talked about trying to get pitchers leaner. Guys were eating too much, or they weren't working hard enough, and now I feel like the trend is more we need to bulk guys up and get them stronger and being able to last a little more from an energy level standpoint. Like you said, Will's a tall, lean guy. He throws hard, and he believe it or not, he's a lot stronger than you might think looking at his build. And I think that's something, credit to him in the weight room. Not everybody, like I said before, not everybody's body's going to respond the exact same way to training and eating, fast metabolism, whatever that may be. Age has something to do with that. You just keep trying to get guys to add calories to their diet. Like I said, with the energy level thing, if you feel good on a daily basis and your energy level is maintained, and you feel good out there, then you're going to be able to make gains in training, and you're going to feel confident with your performance on the field.
You work out with these guys a lot of the time during the season. You maintain relationships with them in the off season. Of the guys that you've had on this team this year, who would you say is probably the hardest working guy when it comes to his strength and conditioning program?
We have a hard-working group here, a lot of hard-working guys. And programs are different for different position groups. One guy stands out in my mind, Jared Eichhoff, just the work he puts in on a daily basis. As a starting pitcher, you pitch every 5 days, and you have a lot of time in between to really ramp up your program. I mean, he called me about a month before the season started, and he'd already finished the complete off-season program about a month early, so we had to write up an extra phase for him to progress into spring training, and he's really taken that work ethic that he had this off-season and taking it with him all year. I mean, it's really impressive what he's done on the training end, and it's a credit to him with the amount of innings he's been able to log this year, and hopefully he can keep it going.
You're the second person in the last couple of weeks who've really sung the praises of Eichhoff's work ethic. His manager was his first one, so you're not alone in noticing the work that he puts in. Eric, you put in day after day a hard day's work out here on the field, much like these players. It is a grind over the course of the season, but at the end of the day, it's sports, and I'm sure that's part of one of the reasons why you enjoy what you do. I'm curious as to what drives you. What is your favorite part about coming to work at the ballpark every day?
Yeah, one thing particularly in baseball, when people ask me that, I've always kind of gone back to, if I'm in a traditional gym setting, the environment is very very static. It's the same thing, and I can progress, the typical weight room variables to get guys, stronger and more conditioned. But out here, we're in a different ballpark every day. We're in a different weight room every day. I think managing those variables where you don't always know where you're going to be able to get your next workout in, I think walking into a 24-hour fitness at 10 in the morning with a group of guys and having to have a productive weight room session, I think that's a challenge that I've always really enjoyed. Always enjoyed being able to do that and seeing different parts of the country, and I really like that aspect of the baseball world.
He's the best in the biz, strength and conditioning coach of the Frisco RoughRiders, Eric McMahon. Eric, thanks so much for the time, and good luck keeping these guys still perky in the weight room over the rest of the season.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it.
It's Eric McMahon. We're back right after this here on the Frisco RoughRiders Baseball Network.